Yes.
Hey, there it is. Welcome everyone to New Comic Book Day Book Club. We made it. Uh, Everything besides this is a bit of a disaster right now, so we apologize. But we're here, and we're still going to be talking about a book. I'm sitting in a hallway because I didn't have literally any place else to put my computer. Um, so I apologize. There's a lizard in my house. That I just saw that. I didn't have time to take care of that. I left a lizard running around in my house so that I could come and do the show quicker, and I'm still 15 minutes late. Um, and speaking of people being late, here's John.
How did I know that joke was coming? Yes, I'll take punishment for or ownership of at least 5 of those minutes myself, driving around looking for a halfway decent Wi-Fi spot. Um, but yeah, at first I thought the first time you said it that you had a wizard in your house, and I thought that's freaking cool. I want to go to Florida.
I mean, I might catch him and make him my pet. And welcome our professional looking setup for the evening. The one person who's got his act together, Perry Comics. What's up?
Hi, how's it going? I don't have a lizard in my house. Just
That you
kids.
know of.
Probably. I mean, Florida, they're all over the place. You step on them going outside to the car. What are you gonna do?
It's part of my new life. Um, we've got a bunch of people in the chat. Chris Barrett, number one, not uncommonly. What's up, Chris? JP's Budget Collecting. Caleb, the comic Smurf Murphy. I bet he's kicking it like a fat rat in cheese factory if I had to guess. TJ, the Slab Dragon Watson. Oh, look, there's me. Comic Man Andy, Ben Compton. Who else is here? Perry, you're in the chat. Hi. Stacy's weekly comic book pick. Welcome. And that's everyone so far. Thanks for joining us and putting up with our lateness and my lack of microphone and light and situation.
You're making up for it with a sweet key book there next to you.
Oh, what, this guy?
Ooh.
And unfortunately, it's hiding the sweet Darwin Cook New Frontier box I got today. But I figured this was a little nicer. Yeah, for those of you who didn't see my stream earlier today, I got this from that Spider-Man booth, and it blew my mind. So I figured I'd keep displaying it.
I think it needs to make a cameo appearance in every video you do from here on out.
Well, it's probably just going to be in the background of my shelf.
Or that.
Chris Barrett says, quote, "If you ain't first, you're last." Chris Barrett, 2019. Airboy the Barbarian says, "White Whale, $100 for the 181." No, I think I'll pass the very generous offer, but I will decline now. Some people are asking for an update on the pod. The pod has been opened. It took 3 burly men to be able to push it open, and one of my backs to be thrown out to get it open.
Oh no!
But everything is inside. A lot of stuff was broken. Comics were everywhere.
Oh no!
It's a bit of a nightmare, but I think from what I can see, all the comics seem to be okay. I need to do a fine comb through them, but 2 boxes were kind of smushed. A couple of my bookcases got mangled. That's what happens when you pack a pod yourself and you don't know what you're doing.
Oh man, what a nightmare!
So don't do that. ALM Collectibles, thanks for joining us. Anyway, hi everybody. We're talking about a comic today, not about my disaster situation.
The cover I got the variant.
Oh,
yeah, you had to get the cover.
I had to get it. It looks so cool.
It's excuse my language, the tits. Why? This is my channel. I can say what I want.
Can I ask before we get going on this? Have you guys ever read much of the Kirby Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen?
I have not. No.
Because I have read a smattering of it. You know, my girls tend to buy that kind of thing when they see them in the dollar bins. They really dig on that kind of stuff. And I compared to Lois Lane by Rucka, which came out like 2 weeks ago. This definitely seems to pay a lot more homage to what Kirby did in those early Jimmy Olsen books.
Yeah, I would say like without even having read them, I got the impression that it was kind of doing that because of just the way it was structured. It felt like old meets new to me.
Yeah, I was just curious if like TJ or any of the folks in the chat read it and got that vibe, because it really did throw me back to that era a little bit in both good and bad ways. Like it wasn't like it was all just nostalgic excellence, but there was that. It was kind of fun and also frustrating, I guess, to have that experience.
Why frustrating?
It was really chatty. There were definitely sequences that felt like they were unnecessary, like not necessarily like vital. It was more just like played for silliness, but didn't really play very well. So that, you know, I'm not trying to say that I hated the book, but in typical book club fashion, I'm harping on the things I didn't like about it first.
Yeah.
But for me, like there were the nostalgic elements for me were having like the vignettes. So the book, for people that don't know, has like several little pieces, like little storylines that weave together. And each has their own little beginning, and like it starts over again and over again, and it's kind of fun that way. I dug that a lot.
Yeah, that was what kind of cued me into it being like an homage to older stuff. What were your first impressions, Perry?
I had a lot of WTF moments. Reading the book, I don't know. It's definitely not my cup of tea. Um, Jimmy Olsen in space, for instance, turning into a turtle. I couldn't wrap my head around him coming down and skipping on the water. Um, it seemed
that is definitely one of the sillier moments.
Yeah, or like his great grandfather or whatever getting hit in the face with a shovel and like flying back 10 feet off a cliff, and they just ended the story. And wouldn't his bloodline end there?
that beginning for me was the weirdest part. That story about like the past, but once it got it like into the current day, there were a lot of like very amusing moments for me. I thought the art was great, by the way.
Yeah, I like the art. I like when Clark Kent looked. It looked like he broke the fourth wall for a second, and he's like, "Only a job that Superman can do," and just holds that wink.
That was my favorite part. Not only because, so here's what he's talking about right here. But my favorite part of it was that on the next page, he's still winking at the camera. That's brilliant. That's so funny.
Oh my god, I was dying. It was like he was the only one in his own TV show, and even the lady keeps talking. She's like, she doesn't even question it. It's like just something Kent does. He's talking to the air. He's winking at nobody.
Yeah.
She looks at him and she's holding a pause, like, okay, yeah, like what?
One, and it's on the page turn, so like you really get the reveal of it. Just that was that I enjoyed the book overall. Like I really enjoyed this page beforehand where he's like, when have I ever gotten into trouble, and like has all these little
I enjoyed that part.
That was excellent comedy. You know, and you knew it was coming when he said that line, and then you're like, oh, it's the end of a page. What's this next page gonna be?
Yeah, but they're also like all so funny. Like he's getting chased by a dinosaur. I know you probably can't see. Let me see if I can come up right up here. Ooh, that works. He's getting chased by a dinosaur. He is flying with ghosts. He is standing in front of a police car that's being shot at, taking pictures, which I thought was really funny. He's having a truck thrown at him. He's running away from a gorilla wedding. You can see that. And he's being followed by mummies with glasses. Reggie Simmons in the house. What's up, Reggie? So yeah, this page, hilarious. This moment, worth my money. Like that alone.
I like how the book highlighted Perry White and kind of like, because I don't really read a lot of Superman, so I don't know that much about Perry White, but I've seen him here and there. But I like how they went through the sequence of him losing his mind because he's thinking of all the money he's gonna have to dish out, and then realizing this is the person that's keeping us afloat,
Yeah,
and then loving and thanking him. You
yeah,
know?
like a flipping a switch. He's like, "Hey, boy," very funny. Uh, the the last story was my favorite.
That's my favorite. Yeah,
where they make a move to Gotham City.
the new in town story.
The publisher tells Perry, not this Perry, the
Perry White.
yeah Perry in the comic, that oh yeah don't fire Jimmy because he's making us all this money. Just send him somewhere else. So they send him to Gotham in this like rat hole apartment with this hilarious building super, and that whole thing where he's saying Coitons and Moita, and it's all like phonetically spelled, and he's got some great lines.
Yeah, I love that several of the books I read this week aren't doing the like thing that we always complain about where the last page is like a villain reveal. This one, the villain reveal was the city of Gotham, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
This was another favorite moment of mine when the guy's hitting the bat and he says, "Look, it ain't much, but you should see the continental breakfast." And Jimmy Olsen says, "Continental." And then we get this little moment where he has a speech bubble of a hockey skate while he's flinging the bat out the window. And his line is, "Ooh la la, get a load of the Aristocat," which is also not correct, which is just like, I don't know, man. This Matt Fraction, for me, his Hawkeye run was a 10 out of 10. This was definitely not a 10 out of 10, but there were moments for me that were 10 out of 10.
And I will agree. Like I felt like there were sequences, like you're saying, the first few stories that really could have used either more or less. I still can't figure out what was going on in some of those and why it was necessary. They obviously needed to show that he's destroying the city. I love the vignette style of it. I love the throwback to Kirby. There were some seriously laugh out loud funny bits. It was nowhere near that Hawkeye run, which is phenomenal. For me, it was good enough, and I certainly felt like I was happy that I made the purchase. I just wish it had been at least as good as the Lois Lane that seems to be sort of the counterpart to this, as far as this throwback to the Kirby era.
For me, like it went like this. It started off slow, and like every story got better, and so I wished that, like, if the rest of this series is him living in Gotham and interacting with this super, count me in every month.
Hands down. Yeah, I like how the last story starts. Like the first 3 or 4 pages is this guy fighting a bat, and then you get the big reveal. He's in Gotham, home of Batman.
Yeah.
And then my question was how it ended with him reading the paper of him being dead. That left me kind of confused.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely. I don't know enough about the Superman universe if that is something that's already been established or if that is like the twist that is like, oh, come back next month to find out what happened with that.
Yeah, I think that's the drawback of the three of us discussing this is none of us are big Superman readers. but at the same time, I think I took it as just another oddity in this sort of vignette storyline style, where it's like, I don't know why he turned into a turtle, and I don't know why his family line didn't die when Grandpa fell off the waterfall. Like, I don't know, but like I certainly went with it and rolled with it, because that was, I will say, the Kirby Jimmy Olsen back in the day was always pretty ridiculous. Like he was always somehow putting Superman in danger, when it was always like Superman was never just like, okay, Jimmy, I'm kind of done with you. Like, I'm over you. Like, give me a break. Like, it was always ridiculous. Just like I would say the Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, was kind of the same too. It was always sort of ridiculous and tongue-in-cheek, campy kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like I said, the sequences and the moments that worked were home runs. I just wish that like the sequences that didn't work were kind of duds for me. But like I'm definitely buying it next month.
Oh yeah, totally. That the way they ended in Gotham, they completely hooked me. This was the one where I was reading it. I'm like, oh man, what does John have me reading? I got this turtle falling from space. I'm like, what the hell am I? What is this?
I like how I get full. I like how I get full blame. What is John making me read?
Yeah.
What is John doing?
I picked this book.
Oh, but John told me about it, so John gets full blame.
When we read Don and we read Middle West, the guest is always like, "Man, Alec really picked something amazing." And when it's this, Perry's like, "What the is wrong with John?"
No, but it ended strong, so I'm happy with it, and I love the cover. The cover looks amazing.
Here's an insider secret. I usually bully John into my picks anyway. Oh,
it's funny because it's true.
Yeah, that wasn't a joke. That was like a real current moment.
Oh my god! But I will say, if you are somebody, and I will say that I would not have gone and read either Lois or this if it weren't for Alec planting this sort of seed and saying you should really check this out. Like, I grabbed Lois strictly because my man here was saying, Rucka, you should check it out. And then I saw that Frizen cover in person, and I was like, okay, these two things together, I'm getting it. And it was so good, I was like, I want more. If Fraction and Rucka are kind of doing this, I want to like try both. And that's what made me want to read this. And if you're only going to read one of them, and I recommend you check out both, I would definitely get the Lois Lane. It is excellent and not being talked about enough, in my opinion. But if you want something lighter and funnier, and less espionage kind of exciting, this is the one. This is the funny one. You should definitely go with this one.
Comics Mix Explains in the chat, and so is DS Comics just joining us. What's up, guys? Comics Mix Explains said Lois was much better than Jimmy, in my opinion. I would agree. It was like a better comic. I enjoyed this one thoroughly, but it was very different. It's silly instead of serious, so it's kind of hard to judge them side by side. But I would.
The Lois one is serious because I haven't read Lois. I'm still waiting for Midtown to ship my book. It's like a more serious book. It's not like this because I thought it was more like this.
No, it's fully serious.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's definitely more of like a thriller, espionage, reporter, undercover in a very dangerous story. And they bring in some great side characters. I don't want to spoil it, but I thought they used the sort of second tier DC characters really well. Sorry, Alec, I didn't mean to call your girl a second tier character. No,
my other girl,
Renee.
Yeah, I mean, she is. It's okay. Call a spade a spade. Burke Family 54 Comics is in the chat. Hashtag stay nasty. He said he did not care for Lois Lane, felt too political. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, some people just don't want politics in comics, and I get it, but I liked it.
Well, and I would argue that you can't do a comic book about a newspaper journalist and not have politics be a part of it in some way. I mean, unless they're covering fluff piece. And Lois is always in the thick of politics and conspiracy and just the thick of drama. And I think that I don't necessarily felt like it was heavy-handed one side or the other. I mean, Lois has a perception, but I felt like it was more a discussion of espionage than it was like a political standpoint, like flag waving or something.
Chris Barrett asked Jason, when are we going to see the Jenny Frison interview? And Jason said, I've talked to Jenny 3 times in person and I get really nervous. I get really nervous when I talk to like anybody. So I can't imagine talking to Jenny Frison and actually trying to conduct like an interview conversation. That sounds...
Well, hey, shout out to Perry. Perry did an interview with the Samurai Grandpa creators, and it was phenomenal. It was excellent. If you haven't checked it out on Perry's channel, you should totally do that. My man has been dropping videos like fire all the time, and that one was really cool. He got a top tier creator coming in and chatted up.
It was stressful, man. I freaked out doing it, and then I got the creator of Reaver that just came out last week. We're talking about doing an interview with him now, so this should be fun. I don't know how I jumped down this rabbit hole, but
I'm gonna say,
I'm just doing it.
Doing like your real stuff. I'm here just like sitting in a hallway talking about a comic book.
I'm in my living room. This is just like a small corner.
all of y'all are interviewing people who like made books, and I don't know, man. It's great. I'm not saying anything about that.
But then you're sitting next to Hulk 181, so I guess everybody's a winner in this story.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna do an interview with this book during the week. How about this book?
Ooh, I haven't read it yet. I was going to read it, and then I got stuck editing, but I want to. It looks amazing. It's been my phone background for like 2 months.
I didn't want to open my $30 variant.
Oh, you didn't buy a copy to read?
No, I bought the one copy. So
oh, yeah.
I was just too scared to open it, and I certainly didn't want to travel, 5 hours in a car with it. So I just left it. It was stupid. I'm acting ridiculous over a $30 book.
Yeah. Well, the shop here was sold out of it, and they were asking $60 for it.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they are an expensive shop. This was probably the worst issue of this yet. It was fairly nonsensical. But that prison cover, though.
Thank you, Perry, for giving me the eyes wide open on that one.
Oh man, I wonder if she's gonna sign it.
I
don't know, just like right on the cleavage.
And
this didn't you tell me to read this?
I said I read it and I said it was funny. I thought I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say you hated it. It was the worst thing in the world.
No, it was okay. I'm not gonna buy that.
I thought it was a good setup. I think he can do a lot with it. I think I like the way he was doing Thor and Loki together, and I like the sort of way he just turning. He even joked about it on the interview that he did with Jason and I that he's sort of doing Loki as Elsa. There's this sort of Disney princess thing to him that's really funny. He even makes a little Olaf at one point. It's really funny. Like it made me laugh. The whole Disney princess of it all made me giggle.
Burke Family says it's really, really good read, but the art is so underwhelming. Talking about Silver Surfer, because I would say the other end of the spectrum. I think the art is 11 out of 10.
Yeah, as far as Silver Surfer goes, I know it's been very polarizing, and that some people just flat don't like. I'm sorry, I can't remember the artist's name.
I get it. Like it's unusual. It's weird looking art, but for me, it's like, I don't know. I think it's tremendous.
Have you read the first issue, Perry?
I did. I never read any Silver Surfer before. I read that first one, and I liked the letter at the end. That was really cool. That made me want to reread it. So like I read it with a different mindset in mind, and I kind of enjoyed it the second time around more than the first. The artwork was a little bit weird, but it was more like psychedelic, and it looked like more of like a creative expression that the artist was trying to portray. Which I totally get that. I'm totally down for unique artwork. That's what makes a good book, in my opinion. But I enjoyed it. I can't wait to read the second one.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I took it as a great way to look at how they're inside of a black hole, and you've got the Silver Surfer kind of being torn apart, and what this other world might be like. I took it as a great, like you're saying, expression as well. And I know a lot of people that don't like Stephanie Hans's work, and they look at it and think it's kind of sloppy and weird looking, and I think it's definitely a perception and preference kind of a thing. But for me, I couldn't see it working for every story and every character, but I think it fits. At least issue one, it fit nicely.
There's some artists that I would be happy seeing them on any book doing anything, like a Marcos Martin for me. He can do any book. I'll be happy with it. But yeah, this guy Tradmore, it's very specific. D-Runk's in the house, John's new best friend.
Come out to California, and then you take the place. You get to be the next one in the house.
That's not necessarily the case. We might not get along in person at all.
Not true.
What was I going to say? I don't remember. Oh, hey, look, it's a Hulk 181.
That's the perfect icebreaker. Look at this.
So,
look at this.
have we all agreed then that we would pick up the next issue for Jimmy Olsen?
Hands down, yes.
Yeah, like I would go so far as to probably put it on my poll.
Ooh.
For now, I mean, you can always take stuff off, right? Is that how polls work?
I can't remember.
John and Alec are the odd couple. Yeah, John, I'm the grumpy one, right? Obviously.
I think we're usually the grumpy one, but okay.
Funny story.
Todd McFarlane could do anything about the Chameleon. That Chameleon cover is one of the worst covers I've ever seen.
I honestly don't think Todd McFarlane gets enough grief about how badly he draws hair.
Yeah, Todd McFarlane draws a lot of stuff badly. Hey, should I buy all 10 copies of all 10 covers of Spawn 300?
Holy crap. I've never bought all the covers for anything unless they only have one.
No, I'm probably not going to, but my shop is like offering pre-orders on it. And that made me consider it.
I'm debating it. Just because I love Spawn. Why not? It's a landmark. 300, amazing. 301's going to be crazy. I don't know. I really like Spawn.
See, I'm not a Spawn guy, so I feel like I'm just buying into the hype of it. Speaking of hype,
this from the guy who had like the 2-day Sponction. That crazy Spawn auction for 2 full days, and you knew every issue, you knew every key, you were like so informed.
Yeah, because I do my research. DSS, don't you hate the McFarlane Lizard cover too? No, that cover is fine. The Chameleon one's the only one that is like really offensive to me.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was a kid reading his ASM stuff, I was always really frustrated by the way hair looked on all the characters. I was always, and then there's that one horrible Scorpion drawing where like Scorpion's legs as big as his body and stuff.
Yeah.
Really...
Well,
and you highlight that in your Liefeld video, I think, that drawing.
Yeah. And I also did one of Mary Jane where she's like laying down and it's just abysmal. Chris Barrett says that Chameleon makes me want to puke when I see it, but he's probably the best true 90s artist. So I don't think we settled on a debate topic. So we could either do best true 90s artist, or what's the deal with speculation these days?
Oh, man, don't get me started on speculation.
Hey, Perry runs a spec channel. It's a perfect debate.
What? I do not run a spec channel. Please do not buy any spec books.
I'm teasing my man. I'm teasing the Blazer. No, he honestly drops one of the best spec videos for me, which is the Keys of the Week. Like Perry knows what books are going to be hot, what's coming down the pike, what's going on. It's a really great video to be informed. So I dig that video.
Yeah, they're mostly just just all because a lot of people consider cover keys. I don't consider cover keys. If there's not something significant happening in the story, then it's not a key. That's just my opinion. I don't understand how Blade Runner 2019 who did that Art Germ cover is a key. It's not a key. It's the Art Germ cover. I don't I don't
Yeah, I
know.
agree. I think a key, something has to happen in the book to make it a key.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then speculation with this Captain Marvel is just ridiculous. I
Oh
don't
God,
understand it at all. I don't get how you're paying $100 for a book that hasn't came out yet, and you don't even know where Star's going. I don't. It's so silly.
they had like 5 of those on the shelf when I came in today, and I was like, I just don't want any part of it. I hated issue 1 so much. I can't bring myself to buy this stupid book because somebody thinks there's a character that's going to be huge later on. Apparently,
yeah, right before we went live, I saw someone on Instagram trying to sell them for $26 a piece.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, you look at that last issue of Walking Dead. It's going for like 35, $40 already.
Same deal there. I could have bought those in my LCS, and I looked at it and I'm like, I've never really loved Walking Dead, so why would I buy this now? I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's just me. And maybe I'm so lazy. Maybe it's just like laziness. Like I don't want to worry about busting my hump to sell the book that I don't care about.
Well, see, I don't have a job now, so I need to figure out a way to supplement my income.
Oh man.
Oh, so hashtag back to spec.
Hashtag spec is now a thing again.
Oh man. If you need a job, let me know. They're always hiring in my place.
Oh my God.
Let's see. What was I just about to say? Yeah, The Walking Dead. That kind of ticked me off because like I enjoyed the show and I kind of wanted to see how it ended, and I didn't get a chance to read it. And I'm like, I don't care about the spec. I would rather go to the LCS, take it home, read it, and then bring it back next week so they could sell it. Like I could care
Oh,
less.
buy this. They're having a second print coming here soon, right?
Yeah, they already put in my pool because I was talking to the owner, and the owner's like, "Hey, I feel bad, like I wanted you to read the book, and so they're gonna throw it in my pool for me."
So the other day, I went to a bunch of different shops, and I think I don't remember if I talked about this on or off the air on Monday during our Story Comic Core hour, which wasn't Story Comic Core at all. But I went to a few different shops, just checking out the area, and one of the shops had Reaver #1 on their wall for $15, and I walked right out of that shop.
Was it a cover A, like the one with the girl's face and the lines?
Yep.
That's crazy.
And like I get it, it's going for more money online, and I understand that it's hard to make a living as a comic shop owner. But if you want to sell a book for more than cover on the week that it comes out, pull them and put them online. Don't make me walk into your shop and try to get a book that came out this week and put it on your wall for $15.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Or when you're digging in the back bins for 45 minutes and find 5 books and bring it to the counter and they open a price guide and start looking on eBay, I walked out.
Worst.
No, that's no good.
Well,
That's the worst.
That almost happened to me not too long ago at a shop back in Massachusetts where it was like a couple days after that Silver Surfer Black variant for Thanos like popped off, and I found one in a bin and I brought it up to the counter, and they're like, "Oh, what's the deal with this book?" I heard them like whispering to each other, and they're like, "Oh, we need to pay more. We need to be like faster on this. People are getting the like pulling the wool over our eyes or something." And I was like, "Listen, man." And I ended up putting it on the charity auction. So, joke's on you guys. But they didn't charge me more, but I could tell they wanted to.
Damn.
But the fact that they
I don't know why
didn't,
they do that.
that at least inspires some trust as a customer.
Yeah, that shop was a garbage pile though. Comic Man Andy said that happened to me at Motor City Comic Con in May. At a Comic Con,
Wow.
they looked up price guides. That's super Um,
So do we want to do the 90s artist? I'm down to talk about 90s artists.
we talked about spec enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Who would you say is like, to me, when you think about 90s artists, it's like McFarlane and Jim Lee are the two names that are right there for me as far as like the, I don't know, the king.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think either of them were ever my personal favorites from that era.
I know. I would definitely go Eric Larson, obviously.
Yeah.
I think he still does my favorite Spider-Man. I think most of my favorite Spider-Man issues. And then Savage Dragon, man, you got to respect. So, like, those would be, Eric Larson would be my favorite 90s artist.
Jack Yo says Mark Silvestri. He was definitely up there for me. Like Cyberforce was my my favorite of the original Image books, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but sticking to it.
Yeah. Who's out? Who else out in the world is caring about Savage Dragon? You take your Cyberforce, you run with it, brother.
Well, I would assume a lot of people, since it's still running, either that or he just doesn't care about not making money. But go ahead.
As I just said, let's call it 50-50. It's like halfway.
Yeah. Can I pick Mike Mignola? Is that unfair? Okay. Mark Silvestri then. What about you, Perry?
Well, I was born in '93, so I didn't get to experience anything new in the '90s. But as I got older in like the mid 2000s, looking back, definitely Jim Lee has the most, like John said, the most iconic look of the '90s. But the whole early Spawn with Capullo, and Capullo being like one of my introductions into comic books, I love almost anything I see that Capullo's ever done.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, I felt like when Capullo first came out, I felt like he was just a McFarlane clone. Like they hired him because he could draw like McFarlane, but he has really kind of developed his own style, and it's like very recognizable now as his own.
Anybody in the chat shout out Mark Bagley, because I think Matt Bagley could do it with a little respect and love for his Spider-Man 90s work.
No, we got an Alex Ross. Although Alex Ross to me isn't like, when I think of 90s artists, I don't think of Alex Ross.
Not at all.
I think of like that Image style at the very least. Michael Turner, Chris Barrett.
What about John Romita Jr.?
I'm going to throw out a very unpopular opinion one. Joe Madureira.
It's possible I don't know who that is.
He did X-Men for a while, and he did Battle Chasers with Cliffhanger, and then he left to work in the video game industry.
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Yeah, I might have to go and look that up.
Obviously, Campbell. I'm a big fan of J. Scott Campbell. I mean, this is like later 90s, but still. Chris Bacalo. Again, not like prototypical 90s, but he worked like he was working back then. And I think he's one of the best artists, so I'm going to put him there.
Fire Guy Ryan and I Got Issues and I were doing some research on a possible activity looking at 90s artists, and it was amazing how much I realized I liked the 80s artists so much more than the 90s artists. Like the 90s were such a brutal time for quality art versus there's so many artists I was like, oh, I want to look up and see what did Mike Zeck do in the 90s, and it was like nothing. That guy did not. He did all this amazing 80s stuff and then just did nothing.
So can I make a counterpoint?
Go ahead.
I think there was excellent art in the 90s. It just wasn't the art that was like popular.
That's probably true. I mean, I just never discovered it, or I've only come across it as of late. You know.
Stephen Platt.
Are you shouting out people in the chat, or is this an actual artist?
That is an actual artist who
I'm debating. I wasn't sure which one.
he, he
I
did
don't know.
he did a run on Moon Knight that is very popular. He was very he did a lot of extra lines like McFarlane. That's but he was poised to be like the next huge artist, and then I don't know what happened to him.
Oh damn. Now was David Mack in the '90s? Because Kabuki came out in the '90s, right?
Kabuki came out in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like David Mack's work. A lot of his work. A lot of his older work too.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Mignola was in the 90s. He was working in the 90s. David Mack. My personal favorite, Terry Moore. You know, that started in Strangers Paradise started in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bone.
Well, 100 Bullets started right there at the end of the 90s. And Eduardo Rizzo is killer.
Eric Powell, end of the '90s.
Yeah. PJ's shouting out Sam Keith. He's another like I think really polarizing artist. Like you either love him or hate him. I think similarly to what we were saying earlier, he's another guy who, when his style fits with the book, it nails it. But if it's forced in, it doesn't work for me. I think it's funny that no one ever mentioned Jim Valentino.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read much of his stuff. What was the name of his image book? I can't remember. Yeah, I don't remember reading any of it.
It's just funny that like, everyone like dumps on Liefeld. Everyone loves McFarlane and Jim Lee, and then Silvestri gets a lot of credit. Eric Larson gets like credit for what he does. Then like there's Jim Valentino over here is just like he's the thumb on the next hand.
That's a good analogy.
It's fair. Yeah, but I mean, I think people are coming around to the idea that McFarlane is overrated. I think from what I understand, even Spawn, the best stories and art for Spawn have nothing to do with
him. Yeah. And then, of course, Will Spataccio, who put out what works far too late for anyone to care about it. Sorry, I'm reading the chat a little bit. Oh, JP's says hot take alert.
I don't mean to be rude to the chat. I can't see it, so I can't call it out.
JP's budget collecting says hot take alert. I think McFarlane is massively overrated, so he agrees with you. Valentino is better than Liefeld, yeah, sure. I mean, come on.
I appreciate McFarlane for what he did, and certainly the doors that he opened and the boundaries he pushed. And I certainly love that early Venom stuff as far as story goes. I really enjoyed it when I was, and still now I enjoy it. I just think, it's just he draws Spider-Man beautifully, but the second he takes the damn mask off, I want to turn the page.
Because he's closer to Liefeld for me than a good artist. JP's budget collection says. Yeah, I mean he's flashy, right? Like I think Liefeld, where they differentiate is that when you look at McFarlane's art at a glance, you're like, that looks exciting and that looks great. Then when you dig into some of the details is when you're like, oh, that looks like a Chameleon cover. I mean, when he nails it for sure. Whereas Liefeld, I think, is like always kind of like that same level of like a 4.
I mean, when I think of McFarlane, I love his capes. I feel like I've never seen another artist put so much emphasis and detail and pay so much attention to a cape. And I think that's really cool.
Chris Barrett says McFarlane. I agree when it comes to art, but McFarlane is a better personality. Yeah, I've heard nothing but like nice things about him as an individual. Whereas
Yeah, we are. Yeah, make that clear. We're not grading the personality of these people. That's really just not going to be fair to Rob Life. So,
Liefeld now and Liefeld on New Mutants and X Force is crazy. It's like he has forgotten how to draw, says Gray Matter Hulk. So a lot of those New Mutants covers were actually Liefeld and McFarlane drawing them.
Oh wow, I never knew that.
Together, yeah. So that's why they probably look a little bit better.
And much like the Spider-Man books that I can look back that McFarlane did and read and enjoy, I feel the same way about the New Mutants and the early X-Force stuff that Liefeld did. Like I can read it and enjoy it because it's very nostalgic for me and entertaining. I like those characters a lot and I can enjoy it. But I can also look at it and notice what I noticed then about the weird flaws in the shape and design and layout, the repetition in the style, the way he prefers to do characters and draw them. That stuff just is still a little frustrating.
Felix is shouting out Bart Sears. Yeah, Barry Windsor Smith, like a lot of those Valiant guys. I think for me, like, people make fun of Valiant a lot, but that early Valiant stuff had better art and better stories than anything Image put out at the time. And I'll fight you on that. Joe Casada says Airboy. Chris Barrett agrees with Casada. Remember he did that book called Ash about like that firefighter superhero? That was weird.
I don't remember that one. Now Barry Windsor Smith, he did all that Wolverine run in the 90s, right?
Yeah, he did a lot of work for Marvel before going over to Valiant. He did.
The art in that Weapon X. Is it Marvel Presents Weapon X or Marvel Premiere Weapon X? That was a great run of artwork, man.
He did some X-Men Uncanny work too.
Yeah, Reggie did a little breakdown on that run of Wolverine and made me want to go. I opened up the Marvel app and just read that whole storyline, and I had never really read it cover to cover like that, and it was really cool. And there's a lot of sequences in there that are really trippy and less on the dialogue and more of just the art, and it's really badass.
TJ remembers Ash. He said Ash had such a great costume. So there you go. I'm not making stuff up. John's laughing, but he's on mute. Just for the record.
I put it on mute because there's like here you can hear listen to the motorcycle. See, because I got cars driving by every couple of seconds, so I put it on mute to save you the noise.
That's okay. I've got lizards.
I think I'd rather have lizards, but that's just me.
Well, you can drive away from the motorcycles. I'm going to put this down for a second so you can actually gaze upon the Darwin Cook goodness. It's got a different picture on the other side too. I couldn't resist. I'm not usually one for these like.
I love the way he draws Wonder Woman. So cool.
I love the way he drew everyone. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's about all I got for tonight. I'm exhausted and my back hurts.
Let's let. Hey Perry, do you have anything coming up on your channel that you want to promote? I know he does a huge show on Friday nights that's just unreal. Live stream on Wild.
Oh yeah, no, just hanging out Friday night, just randomly talking about random stuff that happens to be comic book related, kinda. Tomorrow I'm dropping a video. Let's see, Saturday dropping another video. Sunday another one. Monday another one. Just all the time. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just doing it.
I'm a big fan of Perry's channel, and I'm often in his live stream chats and stuff. The guy, he knows what he talks about, obviously, because he reads a thing or two, but he also he hustles and works hard, man. He is pumping out edited content regularly, and anybody who makes edited content knows how hard that is and how much work that is. On top of which, he is the man on the OBS side. Dude knows how to run a board. He's got all kinds of powers going on over there.
Man, I was so happy today because I finally got my first OBS with like Skype working because this whole Hangouts going away is like freaking me out. And I finally got it under wraps, and I'm trying to teach Rod, and I'm gonna show Jabroni and try to anyone else that wants to learn how to do it. Just message me on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help you.
Jason is asking for some Witch Mountain talk. So, if you want to talk about Witch Mountain for a while, I know we did earlier today, but if you want to learn more about doom metal, John, I can give you some more information about
it. I just expected doom metal to be really, really intense, and you told me how slow and relaxed and chill it is.
Yeah. Hashtag live slow dialed.
Oh man. Oh, I wanted to shout out next week for book club. It's the first of Hickman's X-Men run, if I'm not mistaken, next week.
Ooh, House of X.
Yeah.
And we should have Sam's Tangled Web joining us to talk about X-Men.
Oh, that's great.
Heck yeah. That Marks Brook cover. Oh, the connecting one. Oh man, it looks awesome. I can't wait to get that.
GPAP, thank you. Congratulations. Jason says, doom metal is the best metal. I would agree. If it's too slow, you're too young. I guess I'm plenty old then, because slower the better. Maybe that should be our first episode of our metal show that we want to do, is talking about doom metal. How slow?
It's Carol and Diana talk.
Yeah, Carol and Diana talk metal. Maybe it can be like a takeoff on Limbo. Instead of how low can you go, it can be how slow can you go. I'm not at my best. I'm sorry. What was the pick of the week? I only read a few books, but I don't know. I think Jimmy Olsen was my favorite book I read this week. As good as Silver Surfer was.
Perry, what's your pick of the week? You read anything great?
It's probably gonna be. I read that Ragnarok that was hot garbage. But it had a really cool splash page. But at the end, it tied between this Usagi and Teen Titans. I really like them both, and they're both completely different. One's like super action packed, and the other one's more like story driven. And I like how it picked up. Like as you finish book 1, you could just easily dive into book 2, and I'm looking forward to book 3. It's such a good book. I know White Whale, you did a live show with book 1 when it came out, and I forgot, who did you have on?
I Got Issues.
Yeah, I Got Issues was on, and he was talking about it, and I went back, I reread it, and I was like, all right, you know what? I really like this guy. I started doing more information, and I jumped down that rabbit hole, and man, I got to say, I love Miyamoto Usagi.
Yeah, I did pick up issue 2, and I did sub to it as well, and the shop was like all excited that I subbed to it, because I guess they're having like a competition between, it's like a chain, there's like a few of these shops down here, and they're having a competition between stores to see who gets the most Usagi subs.
Oh
wow. Comic Man Eddie asked, how long is that amazing beard been going? So it's kind of hard to say. I've not been clean shaven now for 19 years, but I've trimmed it and stuff, so it's hard to say. Like, Comic Books Explained brings up Little Bird. I forgot to pick it up.
Ooh.
I know. So shame on me. Little Bird is the land, and my mind is forgetful.
Yeah, I got a ton of books this week, but I have hardly read any, so I'll have to drop some like little mini reviews on my Instagram story or something to let people know what all I'm reading. But I haven't read the last 2 issues now of Little Bird, so I got 4 and 5 to read.
Nice. GPAP says he's listening to The Sword right now, he's listening to The Sword and reading some Conan. That is a great combination. And then Comics Explained said, listen to Conan and read Conan. Either one, I approve of both. That first Sword, That
I'm
first
probably.
album, Age of Winters, is one of my favorite albums.
I know the reads that I'm looking most forward to reading this week are the Daredevil and Immortal Hulk reads. The Zdarsky and Ewing are killing it right now.
Yeah, they're killing Immortal Hulk, all right. Spoilers for something they already announced.
And that freaking cover for issue 25 is unreal.
It's pretty nice, yeah.
So this is that Ragnarok book that came out today.
Oh. Sorry, I'm talking about metal.
No, this is a pretty horrible read about Thor. But the only saving grace was this giant splash page at the end, which gives you Usagi Yojimbo and Thor. And it's just pretty cool. So worth the $4 in my opinion, just for that. Because that's actually the cover for the cover C, but that's a 1 in 25. So just get the regular.
Yeah,
A
that's
cover.
the connecting covers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you just get the A cover, you got the artwork inside. So why go out and spend the extra money?
Cool. I don't really have anything to plug except for Story Concours on Mondays, which should be real again. And hopefully I'll have like a setup with my light and my microphone and books behind me. Maybe I'll just put one on this.
I can't imagine you needing much more of a background than that book, but you definitely don't need to be sitting on the floor.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a beanbag chair.
I'm waiting for the lizard to start crawling up your arm.
You know, I haven't seen him in a minute, which makes me worried.
Wait until you fall asleep. Or sometimes they get stuck and they'll die and you'll start to smell it. Or you move like some furniture and you'll find like some old small skeleton.
I'm glad I moved here.
It's only getting started.
I wanted to shout out. I dropped a couple of edited videos this week, so if you haven't seen my channel, please check it out. I dropped a couple of videos I thought were pretty good, pretty funny and interesting stuff. So they're short, like 7 minutes or less. So yeah, if you haven't seen my channel, check it out. I don't know how you wouldn't have seen my channel because I'm on Alex every other week. So whatever. But
yeah, but they see you and they're like, I don't know about this guy. But his starting
at least 200 of them feel that way.
His starting line series is excellent. If you guys aren't watching that. And it's more consistent than my comparable artist review series. I think those are both our
edited series. It's the only edited series, right, that we've got.
But now that I'm unemployed and in Florida, once I get set up again, I'm gonna do more videos.
I think it'd be cooler if you start just referring to yourself as retired.
Yeah, that's better. I like that better.
You're retired.
I mean, I moved to Florida, so it makes sense.
Yeah, right? It fits.
Chris Barrett hit 100 subs this week. Congratulations.
Yeah, Chris, that's awesome, man. Congrats, man.
Heck yeah.
I remember when I hit 100 subs, I thought, hey, this is probably as far as I'm going to go. And now
you're almost ready to add a 0 onto that.
Yeah, so keep it up, man.
Heck yeah. I'm blown away that anybody watches any of my stuff.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like it blows our mind away where like I upload a video, I refresh, and it's at like 4 views. I'm like, who's watching this?
I feel the same way. I mean, like when I open this up, this got a lot of attention. I get that because people love saying that. Airboy said, "Did I move to save on CGC shipping?" Yeah, I can go drop them off now.
Yeah, they're right there in Sarasota.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. You know what that means. This is not doom metal, by the way. Oh, John's getting into it. Thanks to John. Thanks to Perry. Thanks to Jimmy Olsen. Thanks to that Spider-Man booth. Thanks to everyone in the chat. And we will see you next week for X-Men Hickman, the Sam Sanger Web. Have a great night. Bye.